he did 0 from 8, if I don't recall wrong. And it was one time Barcelona was without goalkeeper.
Yeah, in general, they are playing as a team, and that's crucial.
What do you think, Victor? Is Kielce's squad deep enough to go all the way?
Ball across to Dylan Nahi, double in flight. Oh, what a start!
Ooh, into the net.
She does it again. Yes.
And Magdeburg are the champions of Europe. To come up with something here. She has a game. The keeper. What a comeback!
And off into a new week of talking handball at this bin. We talk handball, and it's the three of us. It's me, Ben Kunkel, joined by future paddle number 1 in Spain, Victor Tomas, and probably the worst paddle player that we got in this 3-split, Martin Veszprem.
I'm not sure about that. Whenever I hit the ball and it's inside, I bet it's gonna come with a decent amount of power.
Have you ever played paddle? I think we had that last week, but I'm not too sure anymore. Did you?
1 or 2 matches, and as I recall it, I won all of them.
Yeah, but I've got you in my pocket easily. I'm probably not gonna be able to compete against Victor because Victor, you probably had like 80 paddle matches just last week once again, right?
Last week it was only 4.
Oh, wow. How's your record?
It was 4-0.
4-0.
It was yes.
Mr. 100%
I
here.
think to double check on that. We have to double check on that.
But at some point we will have to meet up to make one episode all together in the same place. So then we will have the chance to play a game.
Yeah, and then we'll have a paddle match, and it's probably the only fair opportunity to play. The three of us is you, Victor, against both of us, so that we have the slightest amount of a chance.
We can try that.
Yeah,
we can bet on that.
So you want to bet on you by yourself beating Martin and me?
Yes.
Oh wow! Actually. Martin, do you think we can take up on that?
You can tell that he's 4-0. Like, it's a man with a confidence at the moment. Like, we're up for it. For sure, we're up for it. It's a challenge.
Like
but
FC
the
Barcelona
question is,
now.
should we play? The question is, should we play before or after we record it? You know, maybe the atmosphere within the podcast is going to be if Victor wins. I can imagine.
Well, the question is if all three of us will survive that match, because I do feel like there's a little bit of temperament in between the three of us, and there might be a paddle racket flying through the arena. But great, yeah. Well,
the good thing is that I will not have a partner next to me, so I cannot blame on anyone else. You know.
That's fair.
I can always blame Martin for sure if we lose.
between you two, I'm not sure what can happen. You know.
Yeah. Well, we will probably fight each other to death after that match because, yeah, I'm still not convinced by Martin's paddle skills. But I actually just recently got into the squash game. I really enjoy playing squash at the minute because I just bought myself some rackets and I love going out and just playing that intense 1v1. Have you guys ever played?
No. Not squash. No. And it looks really fun.
Mm-hmm. Martin, how about you?
I played it 17 or 18 years ago, and what I experienced was that whenever you get hit by the small ball, it hurts a lot. I actually started crying once someone hit me because you have to move every time you shoot, and he hit me, and I was like, not that old, and it hurts like a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, 17 or 18 years ago, that was when you just turned 30, wasn't it?
I love the start of this episode. I love it.
Great, but Martin, apart from playing squash and paddle, you do have a match that you are playing today, right? That's why we record a little bit earlier. It is Friday, 29th of September, 15:37 Central European Standard Time, just to have each and everyone included. But you're playing handball today. Who are you facing?
Actually, my former team, the pronunciation in Danish would be HEE. But the funny thing is that I'm gonna play against some teammates from the Danish national championship, no, not championship, national team in beach handball, and I'm gonna play against my boss's son. So it's gonna be interesting if I get the chance to beat up my boss's son actually today.
Will that be good for your international career?
Well, that's the question. If that's smart, if I'm gonna bring out my inner Vincek or Pekkalund today, I don't know about that, but yeah.
You mean some big Danish guys just beating up other people, or
Just doing what they do best.
Yeah.
That's beat up people. Oh.
I gotta be careful what I'm saying here.
I wrote it down and I have it on my wall, you know. I love it.
Yeah, that's great, and it's great that quote comes from Martin, the guy who just said that he is crying whenever he gets hit with a squash ball.
Hey, it's many years ago. I mean, I got tougher.
Yeah, well, fair enough. That's probably what handball did to you. Do you need to travel far?
No, it's 15, 20 minutes in car, so that's not that bad. Because it's in the city where I'm from, so that's very, very nice.
Yeah, fair enough.
15, 20 minutes by car in Denmark, that means in the other corner of the country, you know.
He's going coast to coast.
Yeah,
Coast to coast.
Oh, great.
I love it. I love to hear it's Friday, you know.
Yeah, it probably will. I'm asking that question with the travels for a reason, because what was the furthest travel that you needed to take for a match, Victor?
Actually, I think that the farthest travel in European competitions, it was in Russia, in Astrakhan.
Oh.
In 2003, when we played the final of the EHF Europa League. It was EHF competition at this moment. That was far away.
Mm-hmm.
That was really far, yes.
How long did you travel for?
Almost 24 hours, because we had, especially coming back, all kind of problems with the plane. Then we landed in some place in the middle of Ukraine that we didn't know where we were, because we had to refuel, and we didn't know anything about it. So we just landed somewhere. Okay, this is not Barcelona. No, we have to refuel. Okay. So it took quite a lot of time.
Almost sounds like the travels that Kiel had this weekend, because not this weekend, but the past 2 or 3 days, they needed to travel to North Macedonia, to Bitola for the match against Kielce. Not Kielce, against Eurofan Pallister, like that. And last week we did talk about it with Barbara Arnhart, who had that, I think it was 14-hour bus ride. Do you guys enjoy those travels? Because Martin, you as a beach handball player, whenever it comes down to summer, you always end up traveling like, the whole summer. And do you guys enjoy it?
I can say also my furthest trip in normal handball would also be Russia, in St. Petersburg with the EHF Challenge Cup. But in general, I'm actually really, really bad at enjoying these kind of trips. You know, I like the time we have together as a team, but I find it hard to relax. You know, you have to bring with you food and something to drink in order for me to feel comfortable, and always it's not to be rude, but sometimes whenever you play a small sport like beach handball is at the moment, then the federation books some tickets that are pretty early, and it's always with connection flights. So yeah, I'm getting better at it, but I'm really, really bad at it.
How about you, Victor?
The thing is that this kind of trips, and the more you do them, the more, you are trying to don't lose a lot of time during the trips, but then it's also very difficult to do something profitable, like, I don't know, studying or doing, taking advantage of the time. So for me, these long trips are actually not good. I have to be next to Martin on this one.
I remember how many times I brought a book with me, and I thought I'm gonna read this one on the flight, and then I end up watching, another episode on Netflix. Yeah, exactly. I had good intentions, but whenever I'm sitting in there, I never ended up reading the book or whatsoever.
We have a saying in Germany that states it's the will that counts. So you brought that good intention with you. That's enough already. Yeah, it's funny because I personally, just with my job, I am on the road quite a bit as well. Being a sports journalist, sports presenter in Germany as well. And I love that time. It's not like I'm traveling 24 hours to Russia or something like that, because that would be another deal as well. But, well, having trips for 6-7 hours, just sitting flat on my arse, I can absolutely do that. I love it because, yeah.
But how many people are you traveling in this kind of trips?
How many people I'm traveling with?
Yes.
Mostly by myself. So mostly I'm just jumping into the train and sitting on whatever I got to do in that situation, and I love it because whenever I'm on the road, that's what I felt when I was a kid as well. Whenever we flew to vacation or something like that. Nobody would bother me. I could just do my stuff, and I have an excuse to just sit down and do my studies, read a book, or watch Netflix or whatever. Most of the time, there is still work to do. But yeah, I can absolutely enjoy those longer trips.
But you gotta try to travel week in, week out, or maybe every week, because if you have 2 games per week,
Yeah,
with 25 people.
yeah,
And everybody has their own luggage, and then there is the all the stuff from all the team, the balls, the equipment, all the gear and everything, and that takes a longer time, you know.
Yeah, you're cooler than me. I understood that, but it's fine. No, all good. But yeah,
I would recommend everyone that has, don't know what to watch or listen to, maybe they could start listening to this podcast for the next upcoming travels they have. That's just a recommendation. But yeah, in general, also with Victor, it's also being with the same guys. You're seeing them every day. You're traveling with them. You are in the dressing room. You're on the training courts. Yeah, you spend a lot of time together. So obviously, it's essential also for a team to be well functioned and for everyone to like each other, because you spend a lot of time together.
yeah, most definitely, and a lot of traveling time together right now. That brings us over to the Machineseeker EHF Champions League Men, because THW Kiel, they are still on the road. They are preparing for their match for us tomorrow. When you listen to the podcast, it is already being played. It has been played against Magdeburg. But they have 4,000 traveling kilometers because they did go to Bitola, and afterwards they go straight back to Magdeburg, but with 2 points in their luggage.
Yes, and actually it was 2 harder points to get than anybody expected, I think. Everybody, because how Eurofarm was playing so far in the competition, I think that everybody expected Kiel to get the victory much easier. But maybe this tough start in the Bundesliga, it's it's a little weight on their backs, and they also were struggling against Eurofarm. But the most important thing for them is that they could get the 2 points and keep it going in the Champions League.
Martin, was it the game that you expected?
I didn't expect such a low-scoring game as it was. One thing is that Pellister only scored 20 goals, but for Kiel to score 23 against an opponent like Pellister, to be fair, I expected them to score more. But Victor has a point. Maybe it's also the workload that we're seeing, and also them knowing that they have an important game coming up against Magdeburg. But it was a tough one, and also looking at the stats, the new goalkeeper Samir did a great job with 40%, and we have to say that's a good start for him in Kiel so far, and also important for them. But low scoring game, I didn't expect that low scoring, but maybe it's Pickler coming back and them just cruising the way through.
Yeah, but I mean, the offense isn't really running so properly yet. They are struggling with maybe the leaving of Sander Sargosen, and the new guys. They did arrive and they are playing all right. But what is it that's lacking for Kiel to turn the switch and start outscoring their opponents once again, Victor?
I think that would be a good question to make to Philip, because he knows more than anyone his team. I don't know what to say actually, because
sorry, Victor. They brought in skipper Götze.
Yeah, it hasn't been working that good, but still they only received 20 goals the other day. So maybe it's not consistent enough. Or also with Gurbindo in the system, he has a slightly different way to defend, and this takes for the number 3 on his side. That's normally Pekele, to also, to know him, to know what he's going to do when there is a cross in between the back players, if Gurbindo is going to stick with the left back or not. So they need time together in the playing court.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, after 3 matches, there are 6 points. So they won all of their 3 matches. To be fair, against 3 of the bottom 4 of the table in their group, in Group A it is. But the huge opponents, they are about to come. So Kielce, they just had a massive match against Paris. We are going to talk about that one later. After that, Kolstad, PSG, and Aalborg. And those are the opponents for the upcoming 8 matches, and I do feel like that will get a little risky, and it is time for Kiel to step it up, because I am afraid that 23 goals against Pallister, you won't be able to beat Kielce with that performance. Do you agree, Martin?
Yeah, like in general, the opponents that they're gonna face in the upcoming matches are definitely stronger than Pallister, but maybe they're had more focus on defense, getting that up. Also with Richard Gerard not being able to play, they brought in a new goalkeeper. The connection between the defense and the goalkeeper is very important, and then they maybe rely on that they will get better offensively later on. But they also brought in Elias Skipper Götze, who's only 21 years old, and maybe he's the kind of playmaker that reminds me more of Sarabec they had last year, that brings more speed into the game than Bilic is more. I wouldn't call him individual, but he's like not bringing the same speed as Elias is, and maybe they have to find out the mix they have to bring, because the players and the quality they have with Johansson, with Hal Reinkin also, and Gobindo, the quality is there. They just have to make it work. But I'm not that super worried about them winning with only 3 goals. They won and they're satisfied. They're through. They're thinking about Magdeburg now, and they have 6 points. No one can take them away from them. And they have Kolstad. Against Kolstad, I see Kiel as favorites, also having in mind how Kolstad started this Machineseeker EHF Champions League.
Yeah, we will come to Kolstad in a bit. But talking about Skipper Götze, him as the center back, him in a really key position, 21 years old, coming from the Faroe Islands. Martin, maybe you once again. What's your impression in the first 3 matches in the Champions League this year?
In general, I'm super impressed by this guy. I like the way that he just plays, and he also played with Severhof in the Champions League, and he just seems like, how do you say that? He's not like... he plays a little bit unimpressed with the atmosphere, and him coming to, if I don't know, Barcelona, the biggest club, then Kiel is definitely also up there, and he's just giving it a go, and him scoring 5 goals in 7 attempts against Pallister, I would say that's pretty good. But in general, we also need to give these young players time. He's coming to a new league, the Bundesliga, which is much, much, much harder than the Swedish league, and then he's playing for Kiel, and in Kiel they are depending on you to deliver every week in and week out. So but in general, so far so good by Elias. He's a huge talent, and we will talk about him for years to come.
Most definitely. Expectations are high in Kiel. They have always been. They will always be. After seeing them in the first 3 matches, Victor, where do you see them ending up this season?
You can never count Kiel off of they are amazing club. Only their history is making them contenders every year for raising the championship at the end of the year. And as Martin said, I'm not worried. I actually think Kiel is going to win against Kielce in Germany. Because I think this injury from Alex Duchebaev, it's really, really important for Kielce. They found some solutions in the game against Paris with 2 line players, or also with Morito in the right back. But let's see how Kielce is going to prepare the next month. Let's say let's see how fast Alex Duchebaev can be recovered. But I think that Kiel is always a team that you have to count for the competition, because they can win anyone anywhere.
Yeah, well, talking about Alex Dushabayev, he was ruled out due to a muscular injury in the game against Paris. And his dad and coach, and Kielce coach Talant Dushabayev, he said it might be a little hard against Paris without a real playmaker, but they actually ended up winning it very tightly, but 30-29. Who was it who was stepping in for you, Martin?
Well, from what I saw, they brought in also Moritu to play some right back, and he scored 5 goals on 8 attempts. And I see that as an alternative. Okay, sorry. I see that as an alternative because normally he plays on the wing, and yeah, they have to mix it up because they have Igor Karasic, Siko. He's scoring a lot of goals, but then yeah, his brother Dino Jushubayev. Otherwise, they have the Beno Konku also, who's also a right wing, but he's very athletic, and maybe that could be a solution. But in general, they are relying on Alex Dujurbayev. He's their like he's the go-to guy whenever the game needs to be decided. He's the one who also likes to be in these situations. But with Andy Wolf and Dushabayev ruled out, then I would say, to me, that's the 2 best players they have. So obviously that's a huge loss for them.
Yeah, Arkadiusz Morito and Simon Sichko contributing, I think it was 14 goals eventually against Paris. They really took over the leading role, but in the end, it was a little tight. Then there's that question: is the squad of Kielce deep enough? I do remember that we did talk about it last season in the Truck Scout 24 EHF Final Four ahead of the tournament, ahead of the Final Four tournament, because they went into that week being able to train. I think it was with 8 players or something like that. And still, now that Alex Dushabayev is out, we have to be worried about the Kielce offense once again, even though they did prove it against a very, very strong Paris Saint-Germain. What do you think, Victor? Is Kielce's squad deep enough to go all the way?
It's curious because actually in the last years, in the Bertus Servas era, at some point they had too many players, and they were giving players on loan to the teams. Kulesh in Hannover now, Bujovic as well. Then Hassan Kada, which is not playing with Kielce because he's injured. A player coming from Egypt, from Zamalek, which is a shooter, one of the best shooters in the world right now. I think that Kielce has enough players to find a solution right now when Alex Dutsebaev is out. But eventually, Alex Dutsebaev, when he will be back, he will be again a very, very important player because, as Martin said, Kielce is always relying on him. He is the player to have the ball when the game is about to get decided. So I would be a little worried, but I think that if this injury of Alex Dutsebaev it's not too long, they will find some solutions for the 4 or 5 games they will play without Alex Dutsebaev.
Yeah, also because they play with Mauricio, but it will give them a different flow whenever you play with a right-handed right back. So, but yeah, they will come up with a solution. For now, yeah,
I think they can also use quite a lot the two pivots. They can play with two pivots.
yeah,
They can play with Karalek and Turnat, and then
yes,
we'll see if they decide to put Karasic on the right and Sichko
yeah,
on the left. And for sure, they will use this solution at some time during the games. They did it already against Paris, and Karasic and Sichko, they had a massive performance. Let's see if these two players step up in the next 4 or 5 games, and they can give Kielce some good victories.
Yeah, well, and I mean, they did face two of the strongest opponents already. They had Aalborg in the first match, and they just beat Paris Saint-Germain. Kiel next week will be... Oh, no, the week after next week, actually, 11th of October. So we do have a week off of Machineseeker EHF Champions League Men. But yeah, that will be super interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to it. Kielce at 2 victories and 1 loss, same as Aalborg. Their winning streak ended this weekend. I'm always saying this weekend because, but their winning streak ended just during the last 2 days.
But I just also want to give a quick comment on the 2 line players, because Kadalik, he's a world-class line player. And to me, Tonat, the last couple of years, has developed himself into also being a really, really great line player. And he's a big guy. And Kadalik, he's a little bit different, maybe not that tall, but, his technique when it comes to making, how do you say that, the blocks in the offense, it's different also. So having a combination of these two with Chico and Karasic is also interesting, and that will give the other teams problems. So as Victor said, this is going to be a solution they're going to use, and with the 2 line players they have, obviously they're going to do that.
Yeah, most definitely. And, we will see how that will develop. And now looking over to Aalborg, probably no one of us expected them to lose this week's matchup against Pick Saget. Or am I wrong on this?
I didn't expect it.
I maybe not with this distance.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that everything could happen. Of course, Aalborg, after winning in Kielce the first round, they showed themselves as a contender. But I think that Saget has the squad to win anyone. So I was not 100% sure that Aalborg was going to get the victory.
Yeah, well, and I mean, now that you're talking about the Saget squad, they do have, with Sostarich, the top scorer of the competition at the moment. He's at 26 goals after 3 games. That's almost averaging at 9 goals per game. It is always dangerous to have that one top shooter, because once that he's ruled out, you will face some problems. But well, that's nothing that Pick Saget needs to worry about right now, because they did get that surprise victory. They did have an important 6-1 run towards the end of the match, so I think it was mid of second halftime, where it was only 22-21 for Saget, but then 5-6 minutes later, Saget went up 28-22, and it was quite impressive. It was quite impressive to see them flexing their muscles in that manner and securing 2 very important points when we look at the group stage and look at the guys who might qualify in the end for the playoffs.
I agree, but it's interesting. But to me, it was a surprise because Victor said it, with Aalborg winning in Kielce and Aalborg, the way they've been performing in the Danish league, I had them as favorites. But it's never easy to play in Hungary and in Saget. But and also they have some players that not only Sostarich scoring a lot of goals, but they have Banidi, they have Bombach, Frimmel normally also on the left wing scores a lot of goals, but Lucas Stepenchis on the right back, a lot of great names. But also looking at the stats, I'm a little bit disappointed by Aalborg goalkeepers only having 7 saves, and I think Siget had 14. That's 7 saves difference. I know Siget won with 7 goals, so it's not that I'm trying to make a connection there, but 7 saves. I expect more for a player like Landin, and I bet he do himself. But I think that's one of the reasons also.
But I mean,
Yeah, I was about to say that I think that the big difference was in the goal, and finally Szeged, they could count on their goalkeepers, and Emil Imsgaard, he had a very good game. It was 13 saves, and as we all know, when the final four is coming, we always comment it's gonna win whoever has the best goalkeeper through the weekend. So when the goalkeepers are saving balls, the teams are winning games.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, you have to be, Martin, you have to be very happy with the Mario Sosteric performance, because he went 9 out of 10 and not 9 out of 9. And last year you did talk about no one should ever go 9 out of 9.
Wow, whenever you're 100%, if you ask me, then you had one shot, like 2 less. Like you have to, if you're 100%, you have to have that heat check and check, okay, is the day today my day or what? So he did it, but he's performing very well, and I don't think he's been scoring that many goals the last couple of seasons, but at the moment, also for what I saw from the game, it's like whenever he gets an angle, he's going there, and he's one of the taller right wings, and he's using that advantage at the moment. But it's also just, whenever you are in that flow, then you gotta, take advantage of it.
So then you gotta be, yeah, Victor?
Did you ever had a hit day like that, Martin?
I think you gotta add an S in front of that heat day, because he had a sheet day.
I actually recall having some great games, but the thing about backcourt positions is also that it can be the opposite. So you can also end up with having 3-4 goals with 12 shots or something like that. And then then you start thinking, okay, I'm gonna make a cross or pass it to the guy next to me. So I will think about it today later.
That was like Valdez last night with Porto against Barcelona. He did 0 from 8, if I don't recall wrong. And it was one time Barcelona was without goalkeeper.
Well,
Porto, they recovered the ball. He was dribbling the ball to 9 meters of Barcelona, and he made attack foul to Petar Chikusa.
0 for 6, I can tell.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. But Martin, you got to be really angry with Ludovic Fabregas right now at the minute, because 6 out of 6 against Magdeburg, 3 out of 3 against Montpellier, 5 out of 5 against GOG. He's still at 100% in the Machineseeker EHF Champions League. Yeah. Which goalkeeper in this world is able to stop this Ludovic Fabregas right now?
Yeah. I actually look at, it's funny that you say it, because I look at the stats before we went here to talk, and I look at the top scorer list, and it's top 30 on the EHF homepage, and I was looking at, okay, there's one guy who has 100% on the top 30, and that was Ludovic Fabregas, scoring 14 goals on 14 attempts, and yeah, who's going to stop him? I don't know about that. I just know, to me, he's the best line player in the world, and I will keep saying that. And at the moment, he's proven it. But maybe for Veszprem, they should have passed the ball to him more than they did against GOG, because they had a tough time. But yeah, he's unbelievable.
But in the end, did they have a tough time because they didn't play it properly? I just feel like GOG outscored them. GOG was the better team.
Well, I watched the game, and then Morten Olsen had a smaller injury earlier, and then after, I don't know, 3 minutes, he went out, and I was like, okay, they're going to have a tough time, because who's going to take over here? They have another one, younger one, called Laurits Lecher. He's also injured, and with Zachariasen injured, and also Anton Lindskog. Then I thought, okay, they have Nikolaj Pedersen, Emil Madsen, and then Arne Mensing. But Arne Mensing, and just the 3 of them in general here, they scored 25 goals, and yeah, that's let's say they stepped up at the right time when they needed to. That's for sure.
That Mensing and Pedersen duo,
Yeah.
it was amazing. It was amazing. I think the defense of Veszprem was the worst defense we have seen so far this season. And also the goalkeepers in Veszprem, they didn't help the team.
Yeah.
But GOG, they played amazing,
Yeah.
amazing with some players, important players left in the squad, and also with Morten Olsen, let's say half injured at the beginning of the game. It was
Yeah.
a amazing game by GOG.
And also, as you said, with the goalkeepers, they used 3 different goalkeepers like Veszprem. They had, I think, 8 or 9 saves in total. But that also says that if you try all 3 goalkeepers, then no one of them succeed. But yeah, Nikolai P, I know him also personally, and as you said, Victor, he had a great game, and he's been kind of living in the shadow of last year's Simon Pytlik and also this year on Mensing. But whenever he gets the chance, yesterday, but also in the Danish league, he's been performing really, really well. And we have to have in mind he's also doing that in the defense as well, because sometimes Arne Mensing have to be at the number 3 position, or Morten Olsen, he doesn't go in defense because that's not his favorite thing to do. But also yesterday, they didn't play with Linus Persson also. They played with the younger guy called Jatle Lykke, the small one, and they tried to put him in a situation where he can go 1 versus 1. But, playing, I would say, with 95% of the time with Emil Madsen, Nikolai Pedersen, and Arne Mensing, it's a tough match against Veszprem. But yeah, as you say, Victor, a big, big game for them, and that was crucial for them to have the win.
Telekom Veszprem was on the sheet of many, many experts ahead of the season that they are going to win it, that they are going to take home the Machineseeker EHF Champions League this season. Now GOG comes and they show how to stop them. Victor, what is it that other teams can learn from that GOG performance?
Oof. I would say that this game, this defeat at this point of the season, I think it would be good for Veszprem, because I think it will teach them a good lesson. They need to be at 200% every game if they want to win in this competition. But I think that GOG, they controlled quite good the game in defense. Yes, I'm not sure how many goals Ludovic Fabregas has scored, but I think this connection with the pivot, they had it under control. They were very, very strong in the 1-against-1. And Tobias Tullin, he played amazing.
Yeah,
he played amazing. And then in attack, it was actually. I think it will be very difficult to see a game of GOG with that level of accuracy in the shots like they had against Veszprem, because Mensing and Pedersen, they could shoot from everywhere and they were scoring goals, and that was that that's very difficult that another team is doing the same. So I think the key of the game was the defense of GOG, but of course in attack, the shooters of the team, they were, as Martin is saying, they were very hit.
But also, you said it with Tullin, he had a great season last season, but I also think that is a guy that we will see, entering the stage more and more on the national team. But it's a good point with GOG defense, because they had their captain, Frederik Clausen, back, and it's actually his first game, if I recall correctly, after an injury also. So that means a lot, and you could tell that he has been playing with Henrik Jakobsen before in the center defense, because Henrik Jakobsen and Anton Lindskog in the Danish league, I wouldn't say they've been performing as you could expect, and that's probably why. The reason is that they don't know each other that well. So you could see that bringing in Clausen and the captain gave a lot, and also to Tulin. But in general, an unbelievable performance by GOG, and I'm happy about if one team had to beat my favorites, it is GOG that actually beat it. But it shakes up the group. And that's very interesting because I saw Morten Olsen also said it after in an interview. These are points that no one can take away from us. They have 6 points now, if I recall correct, after 3 matches.
They have 6 points.
They won all the games. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, wow. Do you think they might be able to compete for the first 2 spots?
I don't think so, but it's just it can be crucial also if you become number 3 or number 4 in the group also, because who are you going to face from the other group? And it seems like in Group A that everyone is beating everyone. Maybe it's the case at some point in Group B also, but no, to me it's still Veszprem is for one of the top spots. Then it would be Magdeburg or Barcelona to compete for the other one. And as Barcelona plays for the moment, I have Barcelona and Veszprem as favorites for the team too.
Agree?
Yes. For me, are Barcelona and Veszprem the favorites for this group. But I think that GOG has shown everyone that they can compete for the top 2 positions. Now they already won what, in my opinion, is the favorite for this season, which is Veszprem. I think nobody was thinking that GOG could win this game before of the game, and why not? If they perform like that and they can have Morten Olsen back, why not?
Yeah, I do agree, and I think it will be a tight race in the end, but that victory no one will take away from GOG, and I am very looking forward to that duel against Barcelona, because those 2 teams are unbeaten yet, but they will play against each other at one stage of the season, and, well, it will just be one hell of a match.
Play against each other in the next round, if I recall correctly, in Barcelona, and it's gonna be a deja vu from last year's quarterfinal, where I think actually I watched the game in the live, but in general Barcelona was in really great control. So let's see if they can do it again, Barcelona. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, you are totally right. It's Thursday, October 12th, 20:45 Central European Standard Time. Barcelona against GOG. Will that be our personal Martin against Victor match, or?
Then Victor as our favorites here, the same he would be if we play a paddle match.
Well, probably, but Barcelona isn't going to play 1v2, so in the end will be interesting. One team that is probably not going to compete for the top 2 spots is Kolstad. You wanted to talk about it a little earlier after having their opening match won against Pallister. What is tough in North Macedonia, as we have seen with Kiel just this week. But the next 2 games, they didn't look too well anymore. 2 points so far for the Norwegian side. Martin, where do you see them at the end of this group stage?
No, it's difficult, because actually I saw them like being better than Zagreb, and they lost with they just didn't lose. They lost with 11 goals. Like, that's a lot. And I know in Croatia can be a hard place to play against. But if they need to go through, to me, I had Zagreb and Pelister as the 2 teams that didn't go through. But when you lost with 11 goals, that's a lot. And they lost against Kielce. They actually also lost in the Norwegian league against Runa Sandefjord. So now they have 3 losses in a row, and that's not what I expect when I look at the team. And I know Sander Sakuson is leading the assist list in the Machineseeker EHF Champions League, but looking at his goals and shots, he has 13 goals on 24 shots. Maybe it's unfair, but I expect more from a guy like Sander Sakuson, especially when it comes to the shooting percentage. But Kolstad had them before the group going through, and this result in some way shake it up and change it. It makes me doubt.
Yeah, well, especially since they didn't look too bad last week against Kielce. It was a tighter match. But still, it's the first ever participation in the Machineseeker EHF Champions League. And, well, there were all those topics ahead of the season with the financial issues of the club. That supermarket chain burst in their millions into that project. But that's not ours to discuss right now. But still, it's the first ever appearance, and it's seemingly very tough to hit the ground running in the Champions League. Is it just one level above Kolstad yet, Victor?
I think that they have time as a group, to get everything together, because it's new coach, it's new players, and they need time. To be honest, I think that the victory against Pelister was quite normal, because Eurofarm, it's behind them. They played well against Kielce, but a team with these players and this experience, they cannot permit themselves to lose by this distance against Zagreb. So as Martin said, it's putting a lot of doubts in the minds, not only of the fans or the people who is watching from the outside, but also in their heads.
Yeah.
And these kind of thoughts are difficult to change them when you are not in a good streak. So I think they have to work a lot in a team handball, because we can not only rely in Sander Sagosen or Johannesen, for example, or Sigvaldi, because of course they are good players, but they need to play as a team, and in my opinion, they are not a team yet. They are not playing as a team yet.
Well, I mean, Gudjonsson with 11 goals in that match, that does seem very good on the first hand, but if you look at it, scoring 11 goals as one player, but 20 as a team, that is just not enough.
Of course, the wings, as we said before, we were talking about Emma Fries last week. The wings, they need the team to play well for the wings to shoot, but also when you are scoring penalty shots, you can, if you have a good day, you can score a lot of goals. But it doesn't matter if you score 11 goals, but your team is losing by 11. That's not good.
Yeah, but we might take Emma Fries as a transition to the EHF Champions League Women, because Ikast is still riding on their wave. They are still unbeaten, and they are facing, for us this weekend, just once again, we are being released on Monday, and the EHF Champions League Women is being played this weekend. But yeah, Ikast against Krim. I am so stoked to see that match, because that is going to be, very intense. I expect it to be very fast-paced, because that's how Ikast is playing at the minute, how Ikast is, pulling up their performances in the EHF Champions League Women, and they are looking really good. Martin, what's your impression?
Well, I don't think you're surprised here, but I actually had when you said Sigvaldi scored 11 goals, I'm changing the subject now. I played against him in the Norwegian Cup where he played for Elverum. He scored 18 goals against us in one match. We lost with 3 goals, so that was to give it back to. But the interesting thing about Kolstad losing is that it's going to be a battle between Zagreb and Kolstad, and they have to beat the other teams in the group. But maybe that's a topic for next week, and it's going to be interesting to look at. But Ikast against Krim is the two teams that scored the most goals in the Champions League for the women. They scored 100 goals each. So obviously, I expect that we're going to see a lot of goals. In general, it's. If I recall, also in the group from the women's, it's the 2 unbeaten teams at the moment. And whenever Ikast is playing home at the moment, I have them as favorites. But Krim, they surprised me. But Ikast, to me, are favorites here. And it's going to be interesting to see. And I'm looking forward to it because that's one hell of a match.
We do have an interesting article on our EHFCL homepage where the data analyst Julian Rux, he looked at all the stats and he analyzed that, well, you of course cannot take everything for granted after 3 games, but still Ikast plays a very fast-paced handball with its 61.7 possessions per match, and they are scoring the most goals per game. So it does look good when you look over to Ikast. But Victor, do you expect Krim to go along with that pace, or are they just going to try to slow it down?
I'm not sure what Dragan Najic is going to do. Maybe he's going to try to play a fast handball at the beginning of the game, and then let's see what's going on. Then maybe he can control. He has players to control better the tempo of the game. But I think that Ikast, it has been playing an outstanding handball. We spoke about Marketa last week, and I want to speak about her again because she is a goal machine. She is a goal machine, and Ikast, they have won probably 2 of the best teams in the competition, which is Vipers at home and Mets outside. And Rapid, it's not on their best times because Rasmussen was fired at the beginning of the season, and now it's David Ginesta taking over of the team, and they win by 1 or 2 goals against Lubin in the second round. But they also went to Romania and they win against Rapid. So I think that Ikast can be considered at this moment a good contender for be a winner of this competition.
Yeah, most definitely, and I do feel like that is what we can write over that EHF Champions League Women this season, that it might be the underdog year. It might be the year where we don't just see just one surprise team, but maybe even 2 or 3 surprises, because the way that some teams are starting into this competition is very, very impressive on one hand, but on the other hand, there are some favorites struggling as well. We are going to talk about that in a bit. But yeah, talking about Ikast, talking about that goal-scoring machine, Marketa Jarabkova, she went 8 out of 8 last weekend once again. The weekend prior to that, Emma Fries going 9 out of 9. They have such a versatile style of playing where they don't focus on one key player, but they, can choose from whoever, and they're just on fire right now.
Yes, they are. And then I also need to say another name that for me, it's a player that it's working on the darkness, but it's a player I would always have in my team. That's Skugran. For me, she is a player that gives a lot of balance to the team. She can play in number 2 in defense. She can play in number 1. She can play right wing. She can play right back. And it's a player that it's always giving at least B plus or A minus performance. But many times she is on A, A plus. So I think she is a very, very important player also in this Ikast team.
Yeah, that's fair. And I am very much looking forward to that matchup against Krim this weekend. And it's pretty good that we are just being released after the match is being played, because then we don't get tempted to give our guesses here, because last week we did talk with Barbara Arnhardt, and she said we are, after we finished the call, we're not allowed to cheer for the others because she has her sources and she is going to find out. So we're just not going to go there. We're not going to talk about it. Barbara Arnhardt is a good topic as well, because just today, when you are able to listen to this podcast on Monday, the EHFCL weekly series, the EHFCL series, This Is Me with Barbara Arnhardt, where we did talk about last week in the interview with her, is being released on the homepage, and you guys should most definitely give it a read, because it is a very, very inspirational story. It is it's an emotional story. You get to know Barbara Arnhardt from another perspective once again, and I really do like this series. Victor, you were a guest in that series as well, right?
Yes, I was. I don't remember when that was, but
December
yes,
last year.
yes. Okay. Then yeah.
Yeah, well,
Oh my God, I'm getting old. If I don't remember that it was December last year, I'm getting old.
yeah, well, 10 months is a hell of a time. It's very, very long.
Yeah, it is.
How was it for you to recap all your life? And, well, you probably did read through it afterwards. To read from you from another perspective, to basically be yourself and read your story once again.
Uh, when you read about yourself, as you know the whole story, and of course, you can get emotional when you explain something. But in this kind of interviews, sometimes you cannot get very deep into things, and you get emotional because there is some inside stories in the stories. You know what I mean? So it was nice. It was nice to open myself, and I think it's really nice that we can get to know much better and in a much more intimate way the players. And for me, reading about my story, it was nice, but most definitely the story that impacted me the most, it's Barbara's story, because I was actually almost crying at home when I was reading it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So yes, I really recommend everybody who likes handball to go and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. You won't regret reading through that article, reading through that story. It's very personal. It's very touching. And yeah, we are looking forward to a very emotional and touching game this weekend, because Krim, Barbara's club, is playing against Ikast. We're not going to talk too much about the game because you guys already know how it ended. But let's talk a little bit about Krim, because they look really tight and really good as well. Not going the entire pace that Ikast is going. That's what that article on the homepage said as well. But they are still up there. They are still scoring many goals, as you pointed out, Martin. What is it that makes them so special and so dangerous this year?
Well, to me, they have some players that played the Champions League before, and obviously that gives them some kind of experience with Jovanka Radicevic on the right wing. She's unbelievable. Maybe the master of love from the right wing on the women's side. At the moment, Dimitrieva is performing really well. I think she's number 3 on the top scoring list. Tamara Marchand on the left wing, she's the top scorer in the Champions League. So obviously they have a lot of players that's contributing for them. But in general, yeah, one thing is scoring goals and pointing out players that does that. But Victor said it earlier with Kolstad. To me, it seems like Krim is more like a team, and that's very important. Although they're maybe not playing as fast as Ikast, as long as they are sticking to what they believe in and what they can do, I think that's very important. And at the moment, it seems like they're doing that really good. Yeah, and then obviously also saves means a lot from goalkeepers, and they have Barbara who does it. Otherwise, they have Maya Vojinovic who had 9 saves against FTC. So yeah, in general, they are playing as a team, and that's crucial.
Yeah, and the goalies are profiting from a good defensive work as well. With Brnovic as one of their main characters in the defense, they did collect, I think, the most blocks in the EHF Champions League Women yet so far. And the statistics, they do agree on that. 11.3% of shots are blocked on the target. That is a massive number.
That's huge. That's that's a lot. That's a lot. I think I have never seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Brnovic herself collecting, I think it's 2.3 blocks per game on average right now.
Yeah.
Just saying once again, it is an early stage of the season, and well, it's at least just a trend that we can see here. But the trend is your friend when you ask Krim, and they might be able to contest for the top of the group as well. Hot takes are being taken right now. Where is Krim gonna end up? What position in the group?
Okay. Having a look at it with Vipers, Esbjerg, Metz, and Ikast. Wow, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say as number 5.
And Vipers.
Yeah. So that's why I need to say as number 5 because I see Metz, Esbjerg, Vipers, and Ikast ending above them.
And there's still FTC. So they did have a tough start into the season as well, but they are in that group. That is one hell of a group. You don't want to be in that group there. But still, Krim managed to start with 3-0 and start on the top of the group. I don't see them finishing up there as well, but 5 is too far down for me. I am going to give Krim at least a 4th seed, but since I asked for hot takes, I'm going to give them the 3rd.
Then I want to know who's becoming 4th and 5th.
Yeah, it will be hard. It will be hard. But still, so interesting. That's such a tough and tight group. All right, so I'm just gonna guess through that group. I do see that Esbjerg is gonna finish on top. Then we will see Vipers behind them. We have Ikast on 3. We have Krim on 4, we have Metz on 5, and we have FTC on 6.
Oh.
And Rapid, and then Rapid and Lubin are out.
Yeah, Rapid and Lubin are exiting that group. What's your guess, Victor?
That's hard. That's really hard.
If anyone out there took notes and is going to come back to me on that, I'm going to be devastated at the end of this group stage. But still, I need your hot takes, Victor.
We can always listen at this podcast afterwards.
Unfortunately, we can, yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with Ikast in number 1.
Wow.
I think I'm gonna go with Vipers in 2nd position, Esbjerg 3rd, Krim 4th, Metz number 5, Rapid number 6.
And FTC is the 2nd of the last season going out in the group stage.
Yes, I don't know what's happening there. I think they have the players. I think they have the quality. But I don't know what's happening. I don't think they are playing not even at their 30-40% of possibilities. The 3 games they lost by huge distances in the score, and they looked at some point in the second half lost. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know. If of course they still need time to adapt to the new coach, but I see that the momentum of the FTC is quite bad at this moment, and if they lose one more game, the next game, that's going to be very, very tough for them to recover this 0-4.
Right now, as of Friday, 29th of September, the next game will be against Rapid Bucuresti. And that will be a tight match as well, because Rapid Bucuresti, they didn't start their Champions League series too well either. I think they're at 1-2 right now. But still, that might decide who is going through and who not, and who isn't. But I do feel like FTC is going to come back. They do have a new coach. We did talk about that last week. But I love Andrea Lekic as a playmaker. I love her as the leader. I love her as giving that inspiration to the team, even though it doesn't look like they are going too well right now. She never loses hope, and I think that might be one of the crucial key factors why FTC will strike back eventually. So they did have 3 very, very tough opponents to start the Champions League season. First one against Metz, losing by 13. Second one against Vipers, losing by 11. And now against Krim, losing by 6 as well. So this week will be a deal breaker for FTC. They need to turn the tie around. But same is to be said about Rapid Bucuresti. Martin, who you got winning?
FTC against Rapid? Um, it's a make it or break it for FTC as I see it because they have Esbjerg and Ikast after. Oh, for sure, Kloiber has to step up because she only made 13 goals on 39 attempts or something like that. It is that's 15 goals, but oh, that's a tough one. Really, really tough one. I actually think that FTC is winning this one. And I also like them as a team because they also have Marlestein, who is normally a goal scoring machine on the right wing. She normally scores tons of goals. And then you said it, Lekic. They have, Svijic on the line player. Normally she plays very well with Lekic also. But yeah, it's with a new coach. I don't know if they get back into the style. They still have Emily Bilk, who was to me maybe I wouldn't call it a surprise, but maybe one of the one to look after for last season because she did unbelievable and she's so strong also in offense. But against Krim, she had 0 goals on 5 attempts. So all these players we're mentioning here are all quality players, but they have to deliver, and not only individual but as a team. But I'm gonna say FTC. I'm actually gonna say FTC.
Yeah, well, it will be very interesting to see, and very interesting to see how FTC is going to develop after that weekend. But still, the season is still long, and that FTC is able to, look for some surprises. They did prove that last season, and Emily Belk, she might remember that moment in the semifinal where in the last second she bounces it past the keeper. Emily Belk needs to come up with something here. But yeah, still, she might be one key factor when she puts her horsepowers on the street.
To me, she is. Yeah. I don't know about you. What you think?
Yes, for me, she is as well. But it's strange for me because the starters, back players for this season, are the same players as last season. But something changed. Of course, it's a new coach, as we said, but something changed. I don't see the same energy. You know what I mean? And FTC last season, they were fighters. They recovered in the quarterfinals. I think it was 6 goals gap or 7 goals gap to get into the final four, and that was huge. And I'm not seeing this spirit this season. Losing by 13, losing by 11. Of course, it was big teams they play against, but for me, I don't know what it is, but something is going on.
Yeah, most definitely. We do have positive things going on in the Champions League as well, in the EHF Champions League Women. Let's look over to the German side. Let's look over to Bietigheim, because they started back-to-back with 3 matches winning, with their opening matches being won. And especially this season, they are unbeaten yet. So all of their 8 matches they had overall competitions, they did win them. And the question that I'm having, is Bietigheim playing typically German? Because I feel like there are very few mistakes being made.
I think that's a tough question. Normally we get to watch Dortmund, who's also made some incredible comebacks when it comes to EHF tournaments, thinking about the European League against Nantes here. I think that's a tough question. I just know that they have some quality players in the Smith sisters and also Veronica Mala. And at the moment, they are probably having what FTC don't have, and that's confidence and believing in themselves. And also that's going to play a part. And I also see them as favorites against Brest for the upcoming match. So they're up for a good start. And whether they play typical German, that's a tricky question.
Maybe something to answer for our former world-class player, Victor Thomas.
I actually agree with you, Martin. It probably, if you ask me, I would say yes, they play German style because it's not as tactic as Spanish could be, for example. But maybe if you ask a Danish player like Martin. Maybe it's a little, it's quite similar than Danish style. So that's a tricky question. But I think that Bietigheim, they started amazing, and this Xenia Smith, she's playing amazing. She has a bomb on her arm, and I also see them as favorites in their next games. So yeah, we will see where Bietigheim can go. They started very, very strong last season as well, and in the second part of
Yeah,
the season, their performance was going a little down.
yeah.
But we will see. We will see if they have learned the lesson from last season.
Yeah, most definitely. Will be interesting. Xenia Smith's talking about her. She is going in as the leader of the team as well. She's the team captain. I think top scorer for Bietigheim right now as well with 19 goals, and she does everything. She opens scoreboards. She takes the lead. She takes responsibilities. She scores goals. It's just really, really important for that Bietigheim game, and if they can keep that up, we will see where it will end up eventually, because I didn't see Bietigheim as the Final Four contenders on your sheets either ahead of the season.
I don't have them also here, but you're right about Senior Smith's 19 goals, 10 assists. And actually, I just look at the stats. The last time they lost a match was against FTC, and I think that's the 4th of February this year. So obviously they haven't lost in the German league either, played a draw. So they're playing with confidence, but in the end, to make it to the EHF Final Four, that won't be enough to rely on one or two players. You need more than that. I'm not saying the other players are not quality players, but to me, they will make it tough for other opponents. But they won't. We won't see them there for the Final Four.
Interesting.
We have to remember that both in men and women's sides there is a European Championship and a World Championship in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
So a lot of the
True.
predictions that we are doing now, it can change with like this.
Yeah, but that's what podcasts are for. That's what we're here for, to give hot takes that might seem all right in the minute that we give them. But if you look 2 months ahead from now, we'll be like, why would we say that? Why would we go in that direction? But yeah, still, I do feel like it will be a very, very tight season in the Women's Champions League, in the EHF Champions League Women this season, because of everything that happened in the opening weeks, and I am very much looking forward to it.
I am as well, also with Bietigheim. Danish coach. They also just brought in a Danish goalkeeper from the Danish league. But I didn't expect them to deliver that well. They lost Trine Østergaard also on the right wing, Annika Meyer, if I remember correctly, as line player. But yeah, interesting season. But Victor, right, one injury can change it. But we like the risky predictions. But in general, it started out also on the men's side with everyone beating everyone. Kolstad losing to Zagreb, Aalborg losing to Szeged, Aalborg beating Kielce, Kielce beating Paris, and so on and so on and so on. But it's Champions League, and it's what to expect. There are so many quality teams.
Most definitely. And we are happy that the Champions League is running, and we are happy with all of those surprises, with all that drama that is being written already in the first 3 weeks. And there is still way much more to come. So just make sure to follow us on our social platforms, the home of Handball. And guys, I think we can close it down for this week. We talked about the most important topics. Very happy that you guys spent the last little over an hour with us today without a guest. We will work on having a guest in again next week, but I liked it as well. How did you guys like it without a guest?
Yeah, I liked it. We were able to maybe develop a little more about the competition, the teams, the players that are playing well. But I have to say, guys, if this podcast, if I would have 36 hours days, I would use only these plus hours on watching handball, because I'm watching more handball than ever.
Yeah,
I'm
most
watching
definitely.
everything. Everything.
But it's
Oh my
great.
God.
We love it. We love
My
it.
wife is going to kick me out of the house because I have to watch games on the weekends. I have to watch games every day.
Or poor you, having to watch handball, the one thing that you love the most in life.
Yeah, that's true.
No, Victor, we will figure it out. You will be watching some games, and I will take the rest. So you and me will work it out together, half and half.
Okay. But, handball is all the time on TV and on my computer. I don't want my kids to hate handball,
Yeah, well, it might go just in the other direction, that they start to love handball because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. Cool. And then I would say we finish it off. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you very much. And then I would say let's look over to next week. We will listen each other once again once that we arrive Monday in a week, starting today, when it's time to talk handball again.
Ball across to Dylan Nahi, double in flight. Oh, what a start!
Into the net.
She does it again.